Okay, hi everybody. I'm Smriti. I'm one of the researchers from Berkeley, and I will be walking you through the BAS guide for EarthX, and you'll have access to this document, and I'm essentially going to walk you through all the information that's in here. So these are sort of the topics that we'll cover. So I'll show you what it will look like when you get confirmation, when you need to confirm your account, then how to log in, what the sort of dashboard looks like. Um, we will go over how to assign assessments, which you most likely will not need to do. These are the more important topics, so like how to check progress and student comments, how to score open-ended items. And then this is one of the more important parts, which is how to check reports and what kind of reports are available for you to look at, and then how you can export the data that's been collected, and then some contact information if you need any help. So first, we will set up the account for you. So when your account is created, you'll receive an email with instructions for confirming the account. Essentially, you'll get this link in your email. Once you click on it, it will take you to a page. You will fill in your username. Your username will essentially be your email address. Then you put in your first name, last name, which time zone you're in, and then you will create a password. And the instructions will be given there, but these are instructions for what the password needs to include. Once you're done, you've confirmed and your account should be successfully confirmed. Once that's done, this is the link, which you will always have access to in the document as well. I would recommend bookmarking it just so you have it available. Once you're in there, you need to put in, again, your username, password, and then you log in. If you need to change any information, there's the Edit My Info section you can access from the top right-hand corner in the panel, which is shown here. And you can essentially change your personal information, which is your name or your email address and time zone. You can also change your password or other preferences that for what you want to show up on the dashboard. So when you click on, you can select one of these three options. So either change my information, change your password, or change any preferences. As I mentioned, change my information includes these things, your name and time zone. The password is self-explanatory. Once you click on that, it will take you to the change my password. You're supposed to put in your new password, confirm it, but then also include your older password in the current password section. And then once you save it, it will be updated. Yeah. For preferences on the dashboard, which I will show you in a second, you can change your preferences for which activities will need to show up. So either stuff that was due to students that was assigned to students in the past, assessments that are in progress at the moment, things that might be coming up. So you can select what you want to see. And I'll take you to the dashboard in a second. Once you've made the changes, you can select save. So the dashboard will be sort of the homepage for all the non-student users. It includes tables for my classes, active data collection. So this is as assessments are going on and which assessments might be scheduled for the future. And in order to access the dashboard, which is just the main homepage, you just click on the BAS button on the left-hand side of the main navigation page. It includes, as shown here, just a welcome message. My classes will show you which classes belong to you. You should only have the classes for which you are, which is part of EarthX, which should be just one for each teacher for the most part. Active data collection essentially displays a table of scheduled activities. So which of the activities, columns for activities, a number of assignments, and if there's an auto-enroll, so if students are enrolling by themselves, there'll be a link here that you can share with students. Typically, we will have your rosters and then we will assign it to them. So they should also get emails regarding that. But in case you need to give it to them, in case there's an activity that we don't have set up already, you can have an auto-enrolled link that you can give to students where they sign up and they go in and enroll themselves essentially to take that assessment. But the more important part is the schedule activities, and this will show you which assessments have been assigned to students in your class. And you will be able to see, for example, as you see here, In green, you'll see how many submissions are completed. And the sort of orange tab will show you how many students are working on it. So it's in progress. And once let's say it's been assigned to your class, 5 students have not done it, then in the red, you'll see how many students haven't started the activity. Assigning assessments, as I mentioned previously, for the most part, we will be doing the assigning for you. But in case you need to assign certain assessments to your students, you will need to do it through the delivery tab. So once you go up here to the delivery tab, you'll see the type of schedule activities. You'll see either drafts, which are, in progress, assessments that are being created but are not done. Current are activities that are currently being administered to students. You will also be able to see, upcoming activities that are assigned for the future or older ones. And again, as I mentioned, submissions, you'll be able to see, from your classroom, how many students have either completed it or it's in progress or they haven't started it. So it just sort of gives you like a brief overview of what's going on with each assessment. Yeah, so once you click on this icon, which looks like an eye, it will just show you more information about, what's included, which classes assigned, how many students are assigned, et cetera, et cetera. So you can take a detailed look here. Yeah, there's more information available on how to schedule an activity in case you need to do that over here. And you will also be able to go to the link that's presented right here, and that will take you to a page that will share more detailed information about how to assign an activity to your students. Now you can also check in case you have comments from students that have been enabled, you'll be able to see what students are saying about each assessment when you click on this icon. So in the table of scheduled activities, under delivery or under activities, you'll be able to see 2 labels, which are student comments and item names, and you can download student comments as a CSV file or an Excel file. So all you have to do is you go in, you click on this little icon, and it will take you to this page, and you'll be able to, from up here, either download all, and this stands for students. You will see columns for each student, and you'll be able to download the whole of this table as either an Excel file or a CSV file. So you'll know, for example, for this item, a student made this comment, student 2 made a comment for this item. And so you'll get them all in a tabular form. And in case no comments have been entered, there'll just be nothing on the page. Now scoring for most of the items that are multiple choice, it will be automatically scored. But for the ones that are open-ended that you will need to go in and score, I'll show you a few different ways to do it. So from the schedule activities can be scored from the scoring tab that's up here. So once you click on that, you can select an activity and you will see all the list of assessments that were given to students. Again, you will see how many students have completed it and if there's any that are still in progress or waiting to be completed. Once you click on it in the actions page, and the scoring progress will tell you, how much of the activity is left to be scored. Once you click on the actions, so when you're scoring by items, you can either score all items in a bundle for one student. So that means you pick one student, and if there's, for example, 4 items, you can score them all for the same student, student by student. And then if you can you can score an item for a single student, or you can score multiple items, one item for multiple students, sort of a drag and drop scoring, which is a little easier. So let's say there's 4 items and you want to score one item for all students once, you can do it this way by just dragging and dropping. And the scoring an item will present a box for single students or a tab for multiple students for scoring. So scoring an item for multiple students from the list of scheduled activities, once you click on, this first icon, it will take you to a table. And the table will show all the items that are present in that assessment, which will include items in each activity. And again, in class, we call sort of assessments are called activities. Um, so once you click on this icon right here, it will take you to a page that will look something like this, where it's one single item. You will have responses from all students down here for this one item. And then these options that are shown in highlight B will essentially be the levels. So for example, it will be, level 0, 1, 2, 3, and then you'll be able to essentially take each item, each response, and then score it and just drag and drop it into whichever category it belongs to. If it's they didn't answer, it was blank, you could put it in 0, versus, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, you can essentially drag and drop. If there are responses with sort of the same answer, then an auto score pop-up will show up asking you if you would like to score the same answers with the same selected performance. So if it was a yes or no item or something like a one-word answer and multiple students answered the same way, it will make it easier for you and allow you to auto score with a pop-up like that. And then if you want to see let's say you're done with all your scoring and you just want to see, which were the responses that were in level 4, you can simply click on the level over here at the top, and then it will show you all the responses that fell in that category. And you can yeah. And if you click on where you see highlight B, if you wanted to leave, it will show you the student identifier. So that will be their ID, most likely either their email or some external ID, which will allow you to leave a note or feedback if it's applicable. And if you wanted to, so for example, it was like a 2-part question and you want to see what it looked like in the actual activity, you can click on these icons at the top and see view item in context. So it will tell you where in the assessment the item was. Okay, now this might be the most important part of this, which is where you're checking reports. So let's say once you have your assessment, it's done, you've auto-scored, the multiple choice items will be auto-scored, and then the items that are need to be manually scored are scored, and then you can go to reports and it will give you sort of a summary of what are the different responses and the categories that they fall into. So there's a few different kinds of reports. Again, you can access it from the top tab here. You'll go and for the most part, you'll have one activity. That'll be the assessment for your class. And you can click on this icon that looks like a little chart. It will take you to a list of all the reports that are available. So there's a few different ones. The first one is the answers report, and this just displays the raw responses to the closed format items. So this is multiple choice items that students selecting. It sort of gives you a summary of how students responded on the item overall. So it presents frequencies in which different options were selected. So when you're at the reports page, you will see all the ones listed here. The first one is the answers report. Once you click on that, you'll see a graph of student answers for each item in the activity. So for example, here are these 2 items for this activity, and it will show you essentially, how many students picked A. So 13 students picked option A, 2 picked B, so on and so forth. And once you hover over each of the options, it should show you which students selected that category. And this will usually be student identifiers. In case you wanted to see it as a table instead of a graph, you can click right here on tables, and it will instead present it the same information in a tabular form. If you wanted to view the items, so let's say I wanted to view this one item, Amy and Dan, I can click on view item, which is, right here. And then when I click on it, it will take me to the item. If the scoring guide has auto score enabled, which for the most part for all multiple choice items it will be, you'll get a pop-up which will show you options for what were the different levels that the answers were assigned to. So in our case, it will look like, 0, 1, 2, 3. And it will show you what the scoring guide, which scoring guide, you can think of it as a rubric. And it will give you more detailed information with examples. So the next kind of report is the activity review report. And this displays students' answers in the context of the activity students saw it in. This might be helpful in some cases. So if you want to take a look, you just click on this link right here. And it will show you the answers for, so for example, here you see the student and you'll see the student identifier, and it just shows you, how they answered the items. You will also be able to see, for example, if some students didn't finish it, you'll be able to see, okay, what did they see? Where did they stop? So you'll be able to sort of go through. And if you click on this, it's a drop down. You'll be able to select which student, and you'll be able to see how much of the activity, which again, how much of the assessment did they see and where they might have stopped. So the next step is the scores report, and that's where you'll be able to see the raw scores for each. And again, scoring guides, think of them as rubrics within the assessment. And this report links the different levels of the construct, so different, rubric options. So when you click on that, it will take you to a page with a graph. And it will just show you sort of the raw scores, either as a graph form or in percentages or as a table. Again, if you hover over, so these are the two questions, for example, spinner and shirt, 1, 2, 3, and it will show you, okay, how many students reached the top level versus the other 3 or 4 options. So you'll be able to see all that information about where students' scores were. Again, either just in numbers, or you can look at it as percentages. And same as above, always like with most of these graphs, they're a little interactive. So if you hover over them, it will tell you how many students were in, what percentage of students were in the different categories. And once again, if you needed to look at it as a table, you can click on the tables tab up here, and it will show to you in a tabular form. So this will show you, for example, not reached, level 1, level 2, level 3, how many students were in each category, and what are the student identifiers right here. All right, the next report is the individual scores report, and this displays the scored responses for each student for any item, for any rubric. And this is so the ones we were seeing earlier were sort of aggregate reports, and this one is an individual report for a single result, showing how the one respondent's answer were scored. So again, you can click on it. They're all, once you click on reports, you come back to this page, shows you all the different score. And again, you also have a description. So if you, forget, it's all here that you can take a look. And so this will show you. So for example, let's say a single student had both sort of, for example, biology and chemistry course, and they were assigned, items. You'll be able to see sort of the proficiency for the single student for all of those different options, for all the different items, for example. And then there's a drop down. You can click on it, move on to a different student, and change the construct. So this will be, either biology or chemistry or physics. And you should be able to see sort of which level the student has reached for each of the different constructs, which in our case, again, are sort of, you can think of them as subjects. So biology, chemistry, or physics. And again, you can change which student you're looking at from the drop down over here. And you can change the topic that you're looking at, the subject, from up here where it says constructs. You can also look at overall proficiency estimates for groups of students or for a class if you wanted to see not just how one student is doing, but overall what's the proficiency level for your whole class for any one of the assessments. Then you can look at the group proficiency report. It's similar to the individual proficiency report, but again, presents aggregate data for all students to try to give you a sense of like how is the class doing overall. This report will only be available after we've done some data analysis on our end. So say the auto score has been done, you've scored your open-ended items, we will then need to go and fit the data to some models and do some analysis before this report becomes available. But it will give you sort of a broader look at how the class is doing for the items and can be quite helpful. So once we've done that, the report will look something like this. And these are, again, the different levels of the construct. In our case, it will be mostly 5. So going from 0 to 4, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll be able to see, okay, which students are falling at which level. So sort of a nice aggregate summary of the overall proficiency that the class has reached. Can be quite helpful. And you can sort it by proficiency if you liked, but I will not go into the details of that yet. Yeah, and so the final thing I will cover is how to export data. So of course, students have taken their assessment, all their information is in BAS. If you wanted to download the data for your own use, then you can do it through the exporting data feature. So in the main report screen, you can export the data by clicking on this icon that looks like a table on the right-hand side. So for example, if we had this activity, again, this one assessment, you can click on this icon. And then you can either select one or multiple activities. Most of the time, it will just be one activity, one assessment. Once you click on that, once you click on the table, it will take you to this page. And once you select on it, then you'll be able to click on export data that's shown down here. And it will give you an option after selecting, the scores tab will be shown by default, and a button for each construct, which for the most part, each assessment will be associated with one construct. And you can click on one of them from up here to see individual ones, and then the scores will be available here. And this will tell you, okay, what is the respondent ID? You can ignore the assignment ID, but it will tell you also which class it is and what were the different levels for each item for the student. And then when you click on one of these icons, either the Excel or CSV, you can download them as Excel files or comma separated values. Again, very similar. You'll be able to sort of, download data from over here. In case there's a score not present, you'll see this in the table. So not included will mean that the scoring guide was not included in the assignment, which will not happen. Not read just means that the scoring guide was included. So there was a rubric for the activity, but the student did not reach the page where the question was presented. That essentially means that if they stopped and finish it, it will say not reached. And this little dash will show up in case the student did complete it, but say it was an open-ended item and it wasn't scored yet. Then you'll see this dash. And no scores, which again should not happen, is if there were no scores for that assessment. You can also filter data. So if you just wanted to pull out scores for some items or some students, then you can filter the data using the tab here, and it will give you a form. So again, scoring guides, again, think of them as rubrics for how to score the items. So if I have, this many items and I just wanted to export data for two of these items, then I'll just unselect everything and select those. Or if I want to pick the students for whom I wanted to download the data, then I will select only those and unselect all. After selecting which, items and responses I wanted to get, then I will click on same as usual, either the Excel or the CSV file to download the data. So yeah, same thing. You can also export responses and scores. So again, you can either do scores, responses and scores. And responses just means open-ended responses. Scores would be for multiple choice items, close-ended items. So you can either, pick and choose either both or one or the other. And the format will look exactly the same. It will take you to the same page. You can filter the data and then download it as an Excel file. And the legends are also the same. In case you wanted to see when the students have, either started it or completed it, then you can also download timestamps, which will tell you, when the assessment was started, when it was finished, etc. And the way to export that data also looks pretty much the same. But as you'll see here, right? Like when did they start it? At what time did they take all of these items? And what time did they end it? So that can be helpful if you want to know when the assessments were completed. And here it will show up at the end, the link to download these data. So that essentially covers some of the basics of it. And once you're in there, which should be soon, you should be able to look around and explore it on your own. But if you have any questions, you can reach out to me. This is my email address, and you'll have access to this document, so you'll find it at the end, or Dr. Karen Draney. But yeah, thank you, and we'll be happy to answer any questions.